There have been more than a dozen killings this year alone, fueled by fake news and fake news forwards. In a stern message to WhatsApp, the government on Tuesday told the messaging service that it would need to set up a local entity and find a technology-driven solution to trace the origin of fake messages on its platform. Information Technology Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, after meeting with the WhatsApp head, Chris Daniels, said the app had contributed to India's digital story but also needed to find solutions to deal with fake news that led to violence, mob lynching and revenge porn. Now, WhatsApp says it can't really build software to trace the origin of a message on its platform. But however, the minister says it could face abetment charges if it doesn't take action to tackle fake news circulated on its platform. So, is there a fix for fake news? Is there a technological solution? Can that impinge on privacy? All of those questions are what we're going to focus on today. Pratik Sinha, co-founder of Alt News, with us tonight. Aishwarya Bhati, advocate in the Supreme Court, is also with us. Jitin Jain, ethical hacker. Apar Gupta, advocate of the Supreme Court, with me here in the Delhi studio. Pratik Sinha, let me begin with you. There's of course no taking away, well, we'll try and go to Pratik in a moment, but let me take that same question to you, Jitin. There's no taking away from the fact that fake news kills. We've seen all these instances of lynchings around the country. Now, can tracing the origin of a message on WhatsApp or any other platform actually help to crack down on the spread of fake news? If you can trace it back to the, the first person who sent it, what kind of a difference will that make?
Well, it is technically possible. I do a lot of trainings for different media houses for fact verification and fake news busting. And we teach journalists how to figure out whether the facts are right, whether they are modified, manipulated or quoted out of context. So as a journalist, it is possible for you to figure out whether the content of a news is fake or manipulated. For WhatsApp to figure out who started the, who's the origin of or who's the source of that, rumor, I think technologically it is possible because look, whenever a person uploads a photo or a video on WhatsApp, you will appreciate the fact that first thing what WhatsApp does is that it strips off the metadata and the photo DNA of that photo. Now the problem here is that the forensic information which travels with the photo, the first thing what WhatsApp does while compressing the photo and while transferring it over the network, it removes everything. It doesn't even store. So what we've been suggesting over the time is that out of 100, if 100 photos are transferred in a second on WhatsApp, only one photo is new or original content. Rest 99 are repeated or forwarded. Okay. So what WhatsApp needs to do is that they need to store the photo DNA, metadata of that first original photo along with the phone number and IP address of the person uploading it, so that tomorrow if that photo turns into a viral hoax or a fake news or a rumor mongering which leads to mob lynching or something, the law enforcement agency of every country should be able to come back to WhatsApp and say and ask, can you please provide us the forensic details of that particular photo? And all that what WhatsApp needs to do is that put some additional storage and modify a little bit of code, and that does not fetch a lot of money these days. Here it's a question of technological will. It's a question of investment in the storage, and it's a question of policy. I mean, there is absolutely no debate between privacy and security, because this entire process of storing the metadata and the unique ID of a photo can be done without opening the photo. So there is no way user privacy would be breached, and at the same time we will have at least some control of by putting some sort of attribution mechanism for the fake news origination.
Let me understand this. You're talking about only images, then fake news images. But presumably there have been messages also that have been forwarded, particularly about child traffickers, etc., where there's been text involved as well. So what happens in a situation like that then?
Well, in that situation, obviously there are artificial intelligence, technologies available. But then it is up to WhatsApp to see if they want to scan every message. For example, the moment even Gmail is 100% encrypted into an encryption, but whenever you receive a travel ticket or an air ticket or a hotel booking on Gmail, automatically Gmail reads that email and add it to a calendar. Now that does not mean that Gmail is snooping on you. It is just using artificial intelligence to provide you better services.
Well, a lot of people would consider that snooping as well.
On WhatsApp, if there is a word like lynch, mob, kidnapping, kill, lynch, it is involved, WhatsApp can definitely put those messages for manual, maybe interception or something.
Okay, Aishwarya Bhati, come in on this. WhatsApp is saying such technology of the kind Jitin is suggesting and saying would be fairly easy to bring about. They feel that this has potential for serious misuse. Would you agree with that? A lot of the content on WhatsApp is user-generated content. If I'm sending a message out that I don't want anybody else to see, and presumably I'm being told by WhatsApp that it is end-to-end encrypted, would I not then move to another platform that offers me that, or perhaps not message altogether?
So, Ankita, I can't really comment too much on technology. I'm just a lawyer by profession and
but legally
quite
tell me,
I would say, on technology. But
legally, shouldn't my data be private?
Yeah. Yeah, well, privacy has now, Supreme Court has identified and recognized it by a 9-judge unanimous judgment, elevated it to the level of a fundamental right. So, privacy, of course, has to be protected. But, Ankita, no right is absolute. While Supreme Court has declared privacy as a fundamental right, we have seen in the recent past, at least in 3 cases, where Supreme Court itself has been grappling with how to curb these fake news on especially social media, where the accountability is so less. And people are people are still used to the traditional media, so one tends to confirm or believe in the media, and by and large the citizens are quite unsuspecting, and that's what is made misused by some sinister and malified people. So whether it was the case of Prajwala, where the Supreme Court was dealing with forwards on social medias of gang rape videos, etc., whether it was the judgment on lynching, where Supreme Court has very categorically ask the government to curb down on fake news. It has to be done. You can't just say that privacy will be violated, so nothing will be done. It's not an absolute right. No fundamental right, including privacy, operates in an absolute or an abstract form. It has to operate in the reality. And yes, why things happen with such impunity on social media is because there's a near anonymity. People feel that they will not get caught. They go about doing
they can get away with absolutely anything.
There is a certain sense of not being known. Yeah. So that is why the accountability is all the more necessary.
Apart, is that something you would agree with?
I think I disagree with a large part of the framing here, because I think there are a lot of assertions which are being made, and we need to step back and look at the premises of the problem. The first thing is that a lot of the lynchings which are taking place are being taking place pre WhatsApp also. These kind of situations have been occurring, and also the people who are the victims in these.
I think especially in the case of the child trafficking, we've seen it.
The child trafficking the child trafficking, each report, if we broke it down and actually broke it down in a spreadsheet, the majority of the victims were actually Muslims or people from minorities. And they actually related to a trend in which there were cattle laws also which were being imposed. So, we can't separate and we can't prescribe a technological solution for a social problem, given that technology is working with it.
A social problem that is clearly exacerbated by technology.
Yes. So that's the first thing. Okay. So the thing is that the principal onus will be on the government, will be on policing. Now let's look towards the technology. That's the second part to this big debate. Okay. And the technology essentially which is being critiqued right now is end-to-end encryption, in which it's being said that WhatsApp does not have knowledge of the messages which are being sent and who is sending it. So the message pairs and also the users, but they have certain amount of information which they do share with law enforcement. This is post-incident shared with law enforcement, which is basic subscriber information. And of course, police does apprehend people who do engage.
Are you saying that that is enough, that they don't need to do any more than that?
I don't think so, because the thing is that if there are certain conversations and there's a place on the internet for conversations which need to be private by itself, which need to be encrypted. And the second thing is the safety and security such conversations allow us also gives us a certain degree of flexibility of engaging with them. Now, it's important to consider the situation of privacy in India. We say that we have a fundamental right to privacy, but do we have a legislative backing to it? Do we have a adjudicator, regulatory body? Do we have any proposal to even bring law enforcement and state surveillance and even bring it within the framework of law? The answer to all these questions is a big no. We don't have these legal protections. So the thing is that given that law is lacking right now, technology is also compensating for it. I know for a fact a lot of politicians, a lot of journalists and a lot of lawyers actually say, I will call you back on WhatsApp, and there's a good reason for it.
Okay. Okay, you're saying that it's very important for some conversations to remain private. Jitin Jain, there are clearly concerns that seem to be shared by WhatsApp also. They're saying such technology does have potential for serious misuse. We've just heard Apar talk about, what sort of misuse that could possibly be. Where do you come in on this? Because obviously, while the technology may be easy enough, there are larger ramifications to it.
I have always taken a stand in favor of free speech and a fundamental right to privacy, and I agree with Apar and I agree with WhatsApp. Now here, you see, there is a complete contradiction in the stand of what government of India is speaking and what WhatsApp is saying. Now, I disagree when the government says that they want to, surveil upon every chat, or they want to be able to read every chat and locate people. No, sorry, I'm not for it. What I'm saying is that while WhatsApp should not read every chat, they should only store the metadata of especially the audio-visual content and the image content, because that constitutes 90% of the rumors and everything. So, and that can be done without reading the content or without opening the content. And for example, if you send me a message, I want WhatsApp to store, if you send me a photo, that what was the phone number which was sent for the first time, what was the IP address used, what was the mobile phone used, what was the location. Now second time, if I further forward that photo to someone, I don't want WhatsApp to store anything. Only that if that photo turns into a rumor or something, WhatsApp should have the unique ID of that photo and figure out who was the first sender. Now this can be sent without reading the content, without actually reading your personal conversations. And second thing, two fundamental questions I want to ask. What constitutes fake news? Fake news is not only about lynching, rumors, and sending porn photographs or edited or morphed photos. It is also about propaganda. It is also about manipulating facts. If there is a series of misquoted facts, it also constitutes fake news, because it has the dimension to influence your entire democratic process, like it happened in America. So we also have to look at that angle, that we are 6 months away from the parliament elections, and if there is a sustained propaganda carried on without a law in India to take penal action, I think it will be a very dangerous precedent and will be putting entire democratic process in danger.
Okay, second, that's an interesting point you raised. Yes.
What is surveillance?
Okay.
I think open source monitoring of data like your Facebook wall, your Twitter feed, your Instagram feed, your Twitter feed is not surveillance. Every private company is doing it. Every marketing company is doing it. If they want to read your private chats, private conversations, private emails, or your private photos, then it is a surveillance. So, so far as government says that we want to set up a social media monitoring hub to look at what's going on social media, who is spreading hatred, mongering, and fake news and all, I think it is perfectly okay. What happens is that the moment they want to monitor, you say that's fine.
That's a very slippery slope.
Please maintain a balance. Please maintain a balance that what is in public can be monitored. And one last 15 seconds. Yes. If somebody wants to put up a camera, sorry, if they put it in my house, it is surveillance. But if they want to put it on the road, it is not surveillance, it is monitoring. So there is a difference between monitoring and surveillance. So what if they want to monitor the public content, we should be all for it. That is how the government will monitor.
Okay, how do you then separate what's public content and what is the content of a private message between two individuals? Yeah. Pratik Sinha, come in on this, because, does this mean, does monitoring, WhatsApp is now saying that creating technology to trace the origin of a message could actually have potential for serious misuse. Is that something you would agree with?
I would agree with, and fundamentally it would be very difficult for WhatsApp to create something like that, because everything is end-to-end encrypted, and every set of peers have a different set of encryption keys. So so technically, as far as I understand, I have had a longest software engineering career. As far as I understand, that would be very difficult to track, as the gentleman was saying previously, track images, etc., figure out what was the first image when was the first time an image was shared. I think that is quite difficult to achieve technically. And I would, and plus, it is a very slippery slope when when on a peer-to-peer messaging service. WhatsApp is very different from Facebook and Twitter. Facebook and Twitter are public platforms where that what you're putting out is for public consumption, while WhatsApp is a peer-to-peer service. It is not supposed to be for public consumption, and the government looking into that data and calling it public data is very, very worrisome, and that is not something I would ever want.